And to me, that's all happening this year. The longer it takes, the better. The longer Bitcoin cools off and chills, the better. That's all good. Everyone wants it to just keep going up only, but if it just keeps going up only, then we inevitably end quicker. Because if Bitcoin does another 3 green months in a row and goes to all-time high, or 4 or 5 green months in a row, whatever, it's very difficult then for it to not have a significant correction when it does correct. And at that point, it's gone above all-time high, back below, and it's really hard for it to not just do that. So instead of that happening, it's much better that we see a bit of sideways and then this, because that gives more time. That'll be mid-2025. It gets you higher, and it gives you more time to accumulate Bitcoin and alts in between. And of course, when you go and look at like Total 3, which is the one we really care about, is Total 3, because it's altcoins are really where you make your gains in a bull market. You got a crazy looking monthly candle so far, where it pushed up. That's not right, is it? Yeah, that's not right. What has happened here? Am I fucking insane? Have I gone crazy? What the fuck just happened? Am I hallucinating here? This wasn't like this when I went to sleep. Yeah, so that's weird. So we've got a glitch, which only seems to appear on the daily, 3-day, weekly. What's that about? So you can safely ignore that. Nothing has gone up 150 billion overnight. There must be something that has made that go off. Solana, BNB. That's weird, right? Is it Tether? USDC, because they're both included in it. Strange, isn't it? So, Total 3 is not there. I'm sure that'll be fixed by tomorrow. Total 3 does not have that wick, so there's where we're at on Total 3. Again, recovery phase. As I've said before, I'm expecting more weeks of sideways. It does look very similar to this, where we might just keep grinding up and grind and chop above. It looks very, very similar to that to me. If you look over here, that we're at this point where we could grind up before going on. Didn't mean to draw it like that. That's totally wrong, but you get the idea. We have your sell-off, you consolidate, you start to grind higher. Like we're seeing now. Sell-off, consolidate, grind higher. Or it goes sideways. So either we see this, more of a cool-off, and then up, or we go up and chop. I think both of those paths play out pretty much the same in terms of their time element. Whether it goes up and consolidates and chops higher, whether it drops down and chops lower, the next move seems to be set for a few months from now. And then at that point, you're going to see that's the real bull market beginning for alts. And from there, we'll see how high it goes. What's being driven by? Is it AI? Is it Ethereum and Ethereum alts and layer 2s, whatever? But overall, the whole picture I'm seeing is just one where I think trading itself on lower time frames is still suboptimal for the next little while. And it's one of those phases where you want to accumulate. You want to buy good coins on their dips. Covered this a little bit on Trade of the Day yesterday. That if you're looking to buy whatever it is, if it's Ethereum, if it's Bitcoin, any of these coins, you just want to wait until they form daily support or revisit. So for me on Ethereum, back down into this area would be the next place. Or if ETH is actually setting a higher low here, what you need to wait for is for this area to actually confirm. Now this area doesn't confirm as support like this. That wouldn't confirm as support for me. If it makes new highs, comes back, holds that level, that becomes support. When it goes up, back down, holds it, maybe it sweeps, holds. That's when ETH would be forming this bigger range. I'm still long ETH. I'm still like spot long ETH. ETH BTC is still holding up perfectly, just like you'd want to see it. Consolidate. Plenty of room for it to still have a little dip down. But overall, ETH has the more catalysts. ETH has the better setup for the next few months. And then you see like Solana, which is proving resilient again. And just holding and holding and holding. Again, I wouldn't buy Solana myself at 100. I closed, swapped into Ethereum. You know, if Solana revisits 80 to 90, just in this, let's say even 77 to 87, that $10 range from the low of that wick to the bottoms of these wicks, that's the real support on Solana, where if it goes up, drops down into it, holds it, that's support. I don't think it will go significantly lower, because when you have that flush and then you retest and retest, it's showing the demand is strong. You just don't often see charts go like that, where that then flips into resistance. It can happen. I don't expect it to happen. Solana, has already had 35% decline off the highs. And here's the thing, like, everyone is going to look back, in my opinion, they're going to look back at Solana and say, well, I was waiting for the 50% correction. I was going to wait for 50%, right? I was waiting for $63 or whatever, and it just doesn't come. It might come down and tease that. People won't want to buy that because they'll always want to buy lower. It'll go higher and they'll say, oh, that was it. That was the dip. A lot of people talk about that Solana is the ETH of this cycle. And so if it is, then it's at this point here, where it's had its run up, it's had its first sell off. And in that last cycle, ETH had its big scary sell off, 36%, right? Confirmed that low, confirmed it as support with one touch, two touches, and then it just grinded higher. Like, again, I remember this. People were waiting for ETH to go 50%, fill the gap, and it never did. If you look at the ETH market cap as well, same story. Where ETH's market cap over here, which is the best way of really comparing it, its market cap peaked at 54, dropped down as low as 35 in that kind of 2020 phase. Solana's market cap here peaked at 54, dropped down as low as 36. So it's identical. Peaked at 54, dropped to 36. ETH, because Solana is exactly one cycle behind ETH in terms of how long it's existed and its adoption phase. And ETH peaked at 54, down to 35. The exact same. Doesn't mean Solana can't go lower, but the path has been laid out for you to show that there's no reason why it needs to go lower. Even though it can, there's no reason why it needs to at this stage. And lastly, take a quick look at US M2, so the money supply just in the US, which from its peak in 2022 has declined off about 1 trillion. It's sort of bottoming out here, starting to push back higher. And again, I expect that to continue. I expect it to just make its way back up. Why? Because the Fed have very clearly said in their last meeting, we are talking about when to end QT. The only reason this has declined is because they are reducing the size of their balance sheet, which is quantitative tightening. And they're openly saying, we're on a path to ending this, on a path to ending quantitative tightening and moving back into either a neutral phase or eventually a phase of QE, which is increasing. So I would expect that just like the Fed have said, that they're going to continue to sort of do nothing, and eventually it'll rise back up again. And that's what I'm looking at, just with the Fed, USM2, and then from there we'll see. So that's it for me. Just a quick overview, bit of a higher time frame view. I see everything is moving along pretty much on track. There's going to be some FUD, some fear, some sell-offs this year, no doubt. But right now I see them as corrections, not downtrends, not a new bear market. And that would mean that the dips are for buying. That's it. GM. See you all later on the live stream.